I think the most important aspect of dealing with diversity is being open to learning and open to experiencing somebody who is different from you.
If we're not talking about these issues, if we're afraid to talk about them, then we're not educating ourselves. We're missing all the learning opportunities. And I don't really want to use the word ignorance because it has such a hostile connotation, but really what we're talking about is the absence of knowledge, the absence of understanding.
Listening to people from different perspectives and backgrounds and trying to see it and view it through their lens.
So I want you to put out of your mind the idea that there is one right way to approach a person of a different race or ethnicity or cultural background than you are. There isn't. There are as many ways as there are people in the workplace.
We don't want to create more tension than necessary by engaging in discussions of politics that don't need to happen in the workplace. But on the other hand, we want each other to feel comfortable learning about differences so that they can use those to make decisions that are going to help the organization.
Don't be afraid to talk about immigration. Don't be afraid to talk about politics. But talk about it in a way that is honest and real. It doesn't start with conclusions. It doesn't start with anger, and is hopefully based on education.
Not always prefacing, well, I don't really know much about black people. Well, why not? Go read your history books. Go online, look it up. I really don't know much about Muslims. Well, why not? Be able to speak intelligently.
If you're going to talk about something with somebody, it would be nice if you knew what you were talking about. And I think the biggest disconnect, at least my experiences have been, the biggest disconnect when I encounter people who want to talk to me about politics or talk to me about immigration or about my job as an attorney, is that they just believe such wrong information.
Another misconception about Islam and Muslims is what I call the T word. They're terrorists. When we looked at terrorism around the world and the victims of the so-called Muslims who do acts of terrorism, the vast majority of their victims are Muslims themselves.
You want to meet people at the level of their human experience. And the best way to do that is the way to get over the awkwardness is it really important in this moment to kind of know how I should address you? Just start talking to you like I would one of my fraternity brothers or my college classmates. Just start the conversation.
Like any other terrorist, they use the religion as a shield to justify what they're doing. But really what they're doing is so against humanity. It's against the religious teachings. It's against everything moral.
Part of the hard part about diversity is sometimes people are just scared of dealing with it, especially if they don't have a lot of experience with it.
And it's really, well, first let's, hey man, what's your name? Tell me about yourself, where you from? And then, so I think that human interaction at its basic level is the basis of where a lot of opportunities could be created.
Don't be afraid to acknowledge differences, but it's how you do it. So. A white person should not be afraid to talk about an important issue in the black community or in the Hispanic community, and vice versa. I think a lot of times people that want to be sensitive and polite and kind stay away from those subjects because it's like the third rail, you don't want to get shocked.
Be intentional about being color aware in a sense. I think the notion that, has been adopted in university, in the workplace, in companies or society in general is this color blindness. Like, I don't see color. Well, yes, you do. Like, actually, people of color want you to see their color. They actually think it's cool, right?
Certain conversations are difficult with certain people, and it's important to recognize who you can have those conversations with and who you can't.
One of the things that we know is that the more that people have contact with or have exposure to people who are different from them, the better they can start to understand people who are different from them.
Get to know a Muslim, whether they're your neighbor, your friend, your classmate, etc. Get to know them and see what commonalities you will have.
You can't change a man's heart just because you change legislation or you put policies in place. People will navigate policies, they will navigate rules and systems, but if you can touch a man or woman's heart with something authentically, they may hate you, but they appreciate you personally. I think it's got to be a lot more individual, interactions that occur.
You yourself as an employee can seek a relationship with somebody who is different from you, eat lunch with somebody who you might not normally eat lunch with.
In business, diversity has been shown to increase profitability, increase market opportunities, going into places and spaces that you normally might not have access to, creating better products. There's so much data that shows how when you embrace diversity inside of an organization.
The best decisions in the workplace are going to be made when we focus on what people's output is, what their performance has been. And so we want to try to create a situation where we're getting the facts about their performance and minimizing other factors that might distract us.
In summary, when embracing diversity in the workplace, employees should be open-minded, listen and learn, avoid stereotyping, don't be afraid to talk about the issues, show cultural and historical sensitivity, remember that exposure increases understanding, and focus on an employee's performance.